You're not about to fight. What are you stretching
See
for?
what happens. Depends on what he says about this fucking comic book.
Welcome to the Fantom Zone. 3 fans, 1 podcast, and a sea of comics. We got a special episode today. No Kayla.
That's
not what
makes it special. Kayla's not here.
Probably shouldn't have spaced it like that.
They fucked it up.
No, we got somebody else filling in.
Kayla's replacement permanently.
No, how dare you?
Yeah,
I could
sorry.
not be on a podcast with you without her.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
No, we got Andrew Wagner.
Oh, okay. So now I can't.
You can talk.
Now I can talk.
You're allowed to
God,
talk.
I was.
Yeah. When we take the sock out of your mouth, then.
Yeah, he's a local comedian here in Austin, Texas, and a really good friend of ours.
And not a virgin.
No, actually, I have been lying about that for years. I am still a virgin.
Nice.
Yeah. Not to brag.
How old are you?
24.
Okay.
You're 24?
Yeah.
Well,
He seems older, right?
No, but I mean, I think you said that at work because we used to work together, and I was like, "You're not. How are you this tall and you're 24?"
It all kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
You have
And
like
you know,
a-
sometimes 17-year-olds are tall.
No.
Sometimes.
Not-
No, it's
not-
true.
not in my
What was
house.
the last time you saw one? How many 17-year-olds?
Not. We keep them short. We got 12 or 13
bitty.
short
Yeah.
17-year-olds.
Well, the 17-year-olds at my house, quite tall.
Nice.
Which is me.
Well, okay, so we should explain the
Yes.
concept of the show today, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
what we did was we got somebody that doesn't read comics, and we chose a comic that we thought best represented them, or the character that best represented them. So for Andrew, we chose All-Star Superman.
Yeah.
And we chose Superman because, knowing Andrew, he's the Boy Scout. He's a good guy.
You look like a Superman.
Yeah.
That's very nice of you.
Yeah. It's not necessarily.
But
a
I
compliment.
didn't. Whoa. Well, I felt like I could identify a lot with Clark. I feel more like a Clark Kent than a Superman.
Yeah, I totally get it.
So I was reading
Yes.
the book, and I was like, I don't think I'm like this guy at all.
And
then Clark Kent came out, and you're like,
I want to back up a little bit and say I think one of the reasons we wanted to do this too was because like that's kind of what this podcast is about a little bit, which is like, you know, we want to do stuff for the fans, people that really read comics, but also be kind of a good introduction, you know, to people that don't really read comics that much.
Yeah.
They might be interested, they might have seen the movies, but like, okay, here, now
Yeah,
they're,
yeah.
And a little
Love
bit
the
more
movies.
of a, yeah.
And I couldn't help but notice how different the comic was. The comic book was from the comic book movies.
It moves in your head.
Yeah. The pictures were totally still the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. That's the best part.
I sat in front of the book for like 15 minutes. I guess
Nothing's
it's still
happening.
loading or something.
do you think it's like pictures in Harry Potter that they're just going to magically start moving?
Right? And it's like Superman's gone for a little bit. I was like, oh, he must be in a different book right now. I gotta wait for him to come back.
I like that you're 24, but you act like you're 14. Like analog technology is completely different. I am curious, since what's your comic book experience before this, though? Have you read any comics before?
Well, yeah. So I got a Spider-Man comic for Christmas. And maybe I was like 10 years old. I got it from one of my weird aunts. That's not really your aunt. And her name's Jerry.
Okay, we all have that.
Weird, you know,
Yeah.
that weird.
Are you sure it wasn't your uncle?
Yeah, that makes
His name
sense.
his name was Gene. It was Uncle Gene and Aunt Jerry, and they weren't related to me.
That would have been great if that was his way of being anti-trans people. It's just like your aunt, not really your aunt though. It's different.
Excellent point. It would be great if I were anti-trans.
No, just that way. Not, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
But she got me a Spider-Man comic for Christmas one time when I saw her, and I was reading it in the car. And there was this part where Peter Parker was laying in bed and he was working on something. This is the only part I remember from the comic book too. And then Mary Jane came in and she was just wearing her underwear, and she had big old boobs.
Was this was this like a fan fiction that she wrote and gave to you? There weren't any pictures. There was a lot of misspelling, but it was hot.
It's just Aunt Jerry sitting over a table. Spider-Man. Mary Jane's got big old boobs.
Yeah,
But
I like how the thing you remember from a Spider-Man comic is not him being Spider-Man. But him being Peter Parker.
Well, but there's a good reason too, because then my mom saw me reading it, and I was stuck on the page for a long time because I was looking at it. But and she said, so
she was appreciating the art because art, comic art is amazing.
Yeah, it was very fluid and
jiggly.
Oh yeah.
All right, so
and she was holding 2 cups of coffee, and she was like, "Do you want 1 lump of sugar or 2?" And Peter Parker was like, "Always 2."
Is that really what he said?
This is the best of I'm improvising a little bit.
Okay.
I don't remember that word for word.
Okay, but it was something like that.
Yeah.
Would you be able to figure out? Do you still have this comic?
No. I got it taken away from me because
of the titties.
My mom saw me just staring at this giant full page of this scantily clad woman.
You didn't be like, it's Mary Jane.
Yeah, I didn't know. I was so stuck on it. It's like, what is she talking about sugar for? I don't. What is going?
So this is one of those things where you're remembering back.
Yeah.
And you realize it was way more suggestive at the time.
I just did not understand the relation between her big boobs and lumps of sugar.
I got you. Yeah. I still don't really get it.
Yeah. Well, and you will when you're older, but
I need to find this comic. That's pretty fun.
I know. Oh, if anybody is listening to this and they find that good for you, I guess, first of all, but let us know what it is.
Yeah. It might have just been a hustler, now that I think.
Yeah. All right.
So is that aside from the one that we made you read and the one that got taken away from you?
Yeah. So I read a little bit of that, and I read
Spider-Man.
Watchmen a few years ago. Is it Watchmen or Watchman? It's probably Watchmen.
Yeah.
I read that a few years ago.
Watchmen.
No, you're thinking of Watchman, it's about a superhero who has the power of watches, generally, and can watch people.
And and who watches the Watchman watching the Watchmen?
Yeah.
Me. I'm reading the book.
No, okay.
Wait, so it's you?
Yeah.
So here's what's funny to me about that. So you read Watchmen.
Yes.
You liked it.
Yeah.
You better.
I did like it. I liked it a lot.
But what's funny about that is that that is advanced reading.
Yeah. In comics. Yeah.
Yeah. Only in that there's so much that's subverting. That's taking a superhero comic and flipping on its head and stuff like that.
And there is kind of like a whole theme throughout it. There's a comic in the comic. Yes. And they're presenting all those things.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that made it easier. Maybe it was all just went over my head.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's better or worse. I think that some directors have had that problem almost where they only read the more advanced versions of the thing. And so I think Zack Snyder's Batman is an example of this, where Zack Snyder really loved The Dark Knight Returns, which came out in the 80s, and it was this really post-apocalyptic anti-hero Batman. Mm-hmm. But that was interesting because Batman wasn't like that. Yeah. But Zack Snyder it doesn't seem like he read a lot of other Batman stuff. So you just get the Batman that wants to torture people to death with him or whatever.
Everybody's like, who's this new mean Batman?
Yeah. So it was that, and then Watchmen, and then
All-Star Superman.
All-Star Superman.
Which feels like a real, just right over home plate classic comic. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I feel like All-Star Superman, it has all the beats of what you expect a Superman comic to have, but then it has the whole flip on its head where, he's dealing with mortality for the first time, or one of the first times, and it's told in a really cool way. Yeah. Because he's dying, and he finds out at the beginning. Yeah. So then he's going through all this thing. So I thought it would be really interesting to have somebody read a comic of this indestructible person dealing with dying.
It's perfect. Yeah. It's what's weird. Okay, so this comic book is like Kryptonian DNA. They're really very tightly packed. That's a reference. They'll get it. You don't understand. Yeah. But anyway, what's great about it is that so I was looking at what you have in this comic. And when I say this comic, I obviously mean the first 6 to 12 issues or whatever. Over the course of it, you have Superman, Luthor, Lois Lane, Kryptonite, Doomsday, Bizarro, Parasite. Mr. Pronounce it. I don't want to incur his wrath. Yeah, exactly. You have basically the entire history of Superman compact into this one comic, and it's crazy that it feels like the newest thing ever. It feels very fresh, but it also feels like this is traditional Superman. It's kind of both at the same time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's insane.
It is insane. Well, no, not to me. It was just I was thinking about Superman.
So what? So I guess I want to kind of pick the brain of somebody that doesn't
Please
read
do.
comics and let everybody hear.
Yeah, and then we'll talk to Andrew after that. But go ahead.
Yeah. So what are your kind of misconceptions with comics, or what do you feel like, kind of the outside looking in, like comic book readers, comic book movies, like?
Or not only misconceptions, but what's your like? What do you think
general
about?
impression?
Yeah. Because maybe it's correct. Maybe it's not.
It's
I'm just assuming he's wrong right off the bat.
it's hard to jump in to comics because all the universes are so dense and intricate.
Yeah.
It's like, and then kind of maybe a little bit of irony is that you hear like the first volume of a comic, like people talk about like original X-Men. It's like, where do you, that's okay. So it's like the first book is the most expensive and the hardest to get. How would I even start reading comics?
So they do reprint those.
Yeah.
If you wanted to.
And they do this thing a lot. It's happening more recently in the last 10 years. They'll do reboots. Mm-hmm. So they'll kind of like restart or rebirth is whatever they want to call it. And they'll like start over like with a storyline, but they don't really give you the exposition beforehand. Yeah. So you kind of have to have some prior knowledge of the character.
Yeah.
And then
so it's kind of like, where do I start reading comics? So it's very helpful to have one that like...
Yeah, this one is very much like a standalone. It's its own story.
That's right.
It's a standalone story. So those are always good to read because you don't really need to know anything prior. But yeah, that's why we gave you a standalone. We do want to give you like volume 2 and Rebirth and be like, have fun.
Yeah. And
like,
just to clarify, you didn't give me volume 2. I read volume 1.
Oh yeah, we should. Jared was supposed to give him All-Star Superman, the complete All-Star Superman. He only gave him volume 1.
And I did that because it said volume 1, and I took that to like the only one.
No, it's definitely
volume
not.
like
volume 1 out of 1.
Yeah, exactly. So if anything, that's
like
the comics' fault. But he watched the movie too because there's a movie.
Yeah,
and the movie's a good adaptation. I guess what I'm saying is you don't need to read comics all the way. Just read their movies, and that's. But yeah, I really fucked that up.
I think I got it all now. But another kind of, I guess, I don't want this to sound like insulting.
Please do.
But
we get insulted every day.
Are they for kids or are they for grown-ups? Like, who are they drawn?
So how did you feel when you read that? Did you feel like a kid would understand that?
No. It's all pretty high level, like sci-fi stuff. But then when I watched the movie, I did kind of feel like it was more.
It's a cartoon.
It's absolutely there's obviously a lot of cartoons for adults, but it felt
like hentai. Yeah. Did you feel that was lacking in this when you were like, where are all the tentacles?
Yes.
Where? I get it.
Yeah, I mean that is a good point, but I feel like in a Superman story, you do have to have those kind of cliche like, dun, 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 I'm Superman type thing because that's what makes Superman Superman.
Right.
I think of it like how like myths work or how gurus talk, where the idea is that it has levels. So like it's like I think really good stories sort of work this way. I think it's why Marvel and DC movies now are really popular is because there's something for kids. There's a kind of basic sort of
just the superhero aspect
fun structure, exactly, and then maybe there's a level of symbolism or maybe a moral parable for teenagers who need that. They can't stop masturbating. They need to learn. So sorry, cut that out. Anyway, and then there's thematic things that are interesting for like the more adult smarties, I like to call them. Yeah. So
I count myself in with the adults.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely ones for kids. I mean, obviously, but I don't know. I think they're for everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, there's ones like because we got you Saga for Christmas because they're like, oh, we got you reading comics. We're going to give you an adult one. Like that's where your porn is.
See a boob on the first. I'm sorry, I'm talking about boobs so much in this, but you do see.
What you're saying in like a guy who's never seen them. So
I have now that you guys got me Saga.
You'll see a lot more than boobs in that one.
It's been 14 years since last time I even came close to seeing a boob in that Spider-Man comic. I don't know why I avoided comics for so long.
They get you through. I think Saga's a pretty adult sort of thing. I don't with kids. I don't think you ever really need to dumb stuff down anyway. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like,
No, I mean, I remember when I was like really young and reading comics. I mean, anywhere from like 10 years old, I was reading comics. I don't think I understood the big theme of it.
Yeah.
I just liked seeing these heroes I liked fight.
Yeah.
So it was like, I don't know why he's destroying these things. I don't care. I just know, the Fantastic Four is going to go beat him up. Like that's all I care. But as I got older, I started understanding the characters more. So then understanding their kind of difficulties or whatever they're going with.
So that's a good point about what Jared was saying about like the myth of it. Because the myth is like, it's like water and soda. It's like you get the water, even if you don't know, you can't taste it, you don't know what it is. It's still there. So you're a kid, you can still like digest and be like understand like, okay, I don't need to understand the like science behind the like exploding people or whatever. But I get that when Superman breathes his breath at them, they get frozen. It's like, I just wanted to make sure I dumbed down what you just said as much as possible.
Mission accomplished. Yeah. No, but I also think what's cool about it is that I think for the most part, you don't really need that big education in comics to start reading comics. And what you're articulating, I hear that all the time. And I think that's the prevailing feeling of people that kind of, not intimidating might not be it, but like they feel like it would be a big chore.
Yeah.
Like, well, I can't get into Spider-Man. I don't know who Mysterio is. They'll always say that. They don't know who Mysterio is. But,
it's like he's a mystery.
I don't know who Mysterio is.
Yes, I can tell. No, but you know what I mean? Like, I feel like once you start reading, the writers are generally sensitive to that. And I mean,
sometimes they'll just throw one in and you're like, even me as a reader, because I was reading Batman recently, I'm like, who the fuck who is this? Like, what? Yeah. And then they just go away.
Well, but that's a good point, because that's what we do with comics we don't read. So if I don't really read, there's like, let's say I primarily read Thor and the Avengers or something like that. Well, I don't have the inability to then start reading Wonder Woman comics, even though I've never really been into them. And when I read a Wonder Woman comic, it's the same thing. It's like, okay, who the fuck is, I don't have to say fuck, but I'm like, who is Hippolyta? Okay, what's the mascara? I just have to go through all that. So I think it's, if you're wondering, should I maybe get into comics? Is it too difficult? They speed you up so quickly. You can really just like catch it up with it.
I mean, especially if you start like on volume 1, any volume 1 of anything, or just like a one shot or like kind of side story. I mean, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
I mean, you might be confused, but that's what the internet's for, I guess.
So before we started recording, we were talking about Saga and how they kind of sprinkle exposition through stuff, but they don't really spend a long time
explaining
stuff. But one of my complaints about All-Star Superman is that they will just like say a full sentence where it's like, and just so you know, here's exactly what's going on right now, and continue. Like, I'll just say it because it's like in the first, when they're like, getting to the sun and that guy turns into the suicide bomber thing.
Yeah.
What did you say that thing was? Because I think I texted you when you were reading it and you were like, Superman's getting his ass kicked by what?
No, he was talking about Jimmy Olsen's Doomsday.
Oh, okay.
He said a big, like, I don't know, like
horny toad thing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. I don't think I'm going to be able to find it in a...
Oh, but I totally get the exposition. You know what's really funny about this is that in certain ways, the way they used to do it, people didn't like it, or it's gone out of fashion because it's like, what do you call it? Too many words. So what, in movies, they will have this weird like soliloquy thing, where and that's just from the stage.
Yeah.
Where the only way to talk about the internal monologue is for a person to sort of like, and
say
experience it is to just announce it to the audience in a way. And what used to happen in comics is you'd have thought bubbles.
Yeah.
So it would just be their internal monologue. And for whatever reason, that really fell out of fashion. You almost never see it now.
Yeah.
So I think the artists feel like they have to.
Well, I feel like, I mean, so the comics are visual, so you can see it.
Yeah.
One. And then also, I mean, because I think like Infinity Gauntlet and even Crisis on Infinite Earths did a lot of exposition.
Yeah.
And a lot of it wasn't necessary because it's like, what you're saying now, you're going to either show me or explain it in the next couple panels. So don't tell me like, oh, this is the cosmos. It's held together by this. It's
because they're out of fashion, and there are cases like he's pointing out where they're now going to out loud say shit.
Yeah.
No one would say out loud.
I finally found it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So that Elon Musk guy, I can't remember his
He's
name.
great. Yeah,
but he's in the pilot seat here. He's like, Leo's not
It's
quite
Elon,
ready to die.
Elon Musk, the real
Elon Musk,
person,
the real
is
person.
based off of this fictional character.
Oh, just like I'm based off
Clark.
someone, yeah. So Leo's not quite ready to die yet, and now the suicide bomb guy's like, perhaps not, but I am. See, I just remembered something. I'm a genetically modified suicide bomb in human form.
Yes.
Not instead of just showing people and being the surprise of like, oh, I'm a suicide bomber. It's like, oh, by the way, I'm about to explode. Right. So,
oh no, but remember, actually, I was thinking that's Lex Luthor talking.
Oh,
he's talking through him. That's why when they catch him, he's caught up in that sort of thing.
So
I think that's more Lex being a villainy, like I'm going to kill you, and this is how I'm going to do it. And like, classic Lex Luthor. So here's what's interesting to me about that. I actually wrote down that they hide some exposition in this too in a good way. So one of my favorite scenes in this series is Lex Luthor interviewing Superman. And that was a way of doing exposition where it's really Lex talking about his like emotions or his motivation and stuff like that. But they disguise it as Clark Kent interviewing him.
Yeah.
So it's this device where he can kind of like, and this is why Superman's bad.
Yeah.
And where the hell did my eyebrow go?
Yeah. Where is his eyebrow?
I don't know.
I mean, did they pull it from like another story that recently happened?
Yeah, gentle listeners, please, if you know why I've Googled it, I can't find it. I don't know where his eyebrow went.
It's not in the movie, so you can't cheat and watch the movie. Look at the comic, and during the parasite, scene where they're in the prison, the prison break scene, he doesn't have an eyebrow, and then he's reminded to draw his eyebrow back on, which he does not draw it on well. It's way too arched.
There's like four. It was like, which is he doing? Is he in on that joke? Is he like, I'm going to do a silly eyebrow?
I don't know. That whole...
Well, I mean, to be fair, there's probably a lot of adrenaline going through his body, so he's just like, whoa, like, eyebrow.
Yeah. But it was also just a very surreal situation, and like he kind of knows that because like so they go into that I guess what his cell is where he has the like escape tunnel to the river Styx or whatever.
Correct.
And he's got a baboon in a Superman costume.
Yes.
And he's like fucking crazy, right?
Is this not weird?
So
I do like that where he's like, I got this thing. It's like, why? Yeah, why do you have that thing?
So
nobody's watching him in a cell, apparently.
Yeah, absolutely not. And I think at some level you get the sense like he fantastically talks to authority in this. So like the general comes and talks to him, like say, we know what you're up to, and he like grabs the general by the lapel and he's like, I'm Lex Luthor, goddammit. Like it's not. Yeah, I mean, I think there's something magical about Lex in this where he just like he is.
Well, I mean, to be fair, he's on death row.
Yeah.
So I think
I was talking about before that. But,
okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's parts in this where like he's on death row, so I think he can finally be himself because a lot of times the reason why he's a good villain is because he's believable. He's charming. People like him because he does do good things for the city. But like,
weird.
Yeah, but he's really like making like terrible things for Superman to kill him. Yeah. So like in this, I feel like he was finally able to be himself to the whoever.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because it's this whole thing is like the entire history of Superman compact into one. So this is you get the moment because you had where Superman tells Lois like I'm Superman, and
I like how she does not believe him.
Yeah,
like in the movie, I think they do it really well because she's like, "Oh, I don't believe you. You're not Clark Kent."
Yeah.
Like, why would he pretend to be Clark Kent?
Yeah, just denial. But also, but then Lex, this is the first time where he's revealed as a piece of shit.
Yeah,
because a lot of Superman comics is like Lex.
I always assumed
undercover.
Like he was just I always assumed it was agreed that he was a piece of shit because he's a villain.
Well, there's a back and forth with him where he's like,
he's been the president. In the comics. Yeah. Like, he got elected.
Which, of course, makes people a good person.
It's hard to imagine. Like, you wouldn't elect a bad person to that office. You would only be really smart, competent people.
What are we doing here?
I don't know what's happening.
Some kind of sneaky double talk.
Wait, was that a joke?
Yes, it's a
Yeah,
joke. In case that Trump is awful. Okay, let's move on. Anyway,
We just lost like 2 listeners.
oh damn it, there. But not for you. You like him, and the country's like that. How weird. Anyway, okay. But yeah. There's always been an up and down with him. He's either revealed as a awful villain that's tried to destroy the world, and then they kind of softly sort of retcon that by like, well, but he tried hard, and he's not a
He
bad
built
guy
that park.
at heart. What's that?
He built that park.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah.
Metropolis Park?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Metropolis
Okay,
Park.
that big fountain with the giant erect penis with Lex Luthor's face on the head of it, he designed that. Huh. Yeah, that's hard to believe. Huh.
But yeah, I'm glad we're talking about it because I guess I
penis?
didn't realize. Well, I guess tangentially, but not. I'm glad that we're talking about Lex Luthor because I'm realizing how much I did love him. He was completely batty. Yes. And in kind of like this kamikaze mode where he's going to die, but like Superman's going to die too.
Yes.
So
yeah, it's like you have one person trying to do all these things that he wants to leave a mark or whatever, and then you have Lex like, I'm going to do everything that I should have done this entire time before I die. Yeah. And he's just so happy that he killed Superman.
And the whole the way he kills, what's that thing's name? Parasite?
Yeah.
The way he kills that is kind of like this whole like parallel to how he kills Superman.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes you think he knows Clark Kent's Superman, and he's playing this like little game where he's got him behind the punching bag, and he's like beating up Clark Kent, but he's kind of airing some frustration towards Superman.
Oh yeah.
And like you said earlier, in this coded way, monologuing his evil plan, like, oh, I filled it with too much energy.
You know what's
Ever heard of that?
Clark Kent. What else is really cool about that scene to me, and what I think gets sort of sophisticated, is like it's a kind of subtle criticism, I think, against the kind of like rich billionaires, the Atlas Shrugged idea that they do everything themselves. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I don't need anybody's help. I'm mute, because he's monologuing that whole time to Kent about how great he is, how he's so powerful. Kent is saving his life all around.
Oh yeah.
Kent is a great scene too. He stomps the ground and creates an earthquake. Mm-hmm. Parasite falls, and then Lex goes and starts shooting him in the face. Like, nobody, you see what happens when you,
and then keeps punching him too. It's like, what?
That was part of Obama's speech when he was like, "You didn't make those roads. You didn't cause an earthquake to kill Parasite. You didn't do that." Yeah.
What?
They'll get, the people that know that speech will get it. The Venn diagram of people who are aware of the Obama reference I'm making and also have read All-Star Superman are me.
Me, I just know when to laugh. So
yeah, excellent.
So, is there anything you did not like in this comic or the movie or whatever?
Just some dialogue stuff, but there's some things that have always been a little odd to me about Superman, and surely people have made this observation before. But why is print media so powerful in this universe? Still, they have these giant skyscrapers.
Because most superheroes happen to work at a media station.
It really was for a long time.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is that now they mention that, I think Superman's kind of the only person that's kept it.
Yeah.
Because Spider-Man also, okay, so you know the name of the little quiz, the name of the paper that he works for?
Daily Planet.
Yeah. What about Spider-Man?
Daily World.
Correct. Incorrect. No, it's the Daily Bugle. But anyway.
Wait. Oh, I thought it was Spider-Man's newspaper.
That's it. J. Jonah Jameson, by the way, is a weird irony. He didn't mean to name it that. He was like, "What?" Okay, anyway, fine. But it's weird because Spider-Man's not really stayed with it. Mm-hmm. Like in the course of his comics, it's even
he's like a vlogger now.
He's been a science teacher. I don't think he's a vlogger. Okay. But he's Perez Hilton in the comic.
How dare you?
No, but it's like he's. I mean, the Daily Bugle collapsing in a sense has even been incorporated in the comic a lot. Like it was like this is not a thing to do. Superman's kept his job. Yeah, it's a very important. Reporter.
Yeah, and there are smartphones in All-Star Superman. So I don't.
Well, there is a really cool scene like in the movie, and they do it in the comic where. Perry White is like, if he's not here in the next 5 seconds, he's gonna get fired. And you have Superman like rushing. Yeah. Somehow he heard that, and he's rushing there. He saves somebody on the way and happens to make it just in time. It's like, that's his whole career.
He would have tweeted in the middle of that. Yeah. It was realistic. Like Trump.
But you were saying at the beginning that like Superman kind of holds these almost like 1950s style things, and so I guess that's just like one of the conventions. Like he's
like wearing a cape.
Yeah, wearing a cape.
When everybody wore a cape,
saying, "Gee, get away from my girl."
I'm
Superman. See,
I love that you made him like, what is that, like Jimmy Durante? Or something? That's great.
Yeah, I mean, but I think that's the thing that Superman does well, because he does hold those old ideals, and he is, I'm Superman. Like, I'm going to lift this car.
And I think this comic is kind of aware of that too, because it really does play with how antiquated he is in a certain way, and how it questions whether he can be translated into the future. I think a great idea is, or that gets expressed with that Elon Musk character. Again, what's his? Do you know who he is?
No. Quint. Oh, man.
Yeah. I can't remember.
I know he looks cool.
Rainbow Jacket guy.
Yeah, Rainbow Jacket guy. And he is, again,
he's
Elon
supposed
Musk.
to be the world's like first zillionaire or
yes,
something.
Exactly.
Because that's a real number.
That's going to be this podcast.
He has Googleplex dollars, so.
They just make them. Make money.
Also, the economy's collapsed, so you might as well have that many rubles.
Yeah.
But I was struck when he's describing the new innovations to Superman, where it's like, we've created these, the Bizarro clone, and it's not held down by gravity, of course, and its blood is mostly liquid nitrogen, and these are our microscopic technological nano bites that go into your cell and cure cancer and all that kind of stuff. And he's telling this to Superman, who's like, he can punch stuff. Yeah. So so he feels a bit kind of like, antiquated in the beginning. So I feel like Grant Morrison's pretty kind of aware of the idea of, let me put this Art Deco style 1930s character in the middle of the
future.
The most psychedelic frontier of my imagination.
Yeah, but then it's also weird too, because later in the comic he like shows Lois all these inventions and stuff that he has and all the stuff. So it's like, you did understand that stuff.
As a character, I think he's really smart and everything like that. But it's just like what he sort of symbolizes or something like that.
How'd you feel about Lois?
I like Lois. Yeah.
What did you like about her? Or how many lumps did she take in her tea, buddy? Okay.
Yeah. Well, and you know what's kind of weird? Okay. I'm blushing on the mic. It's kind of weird. Maybe it's just this comic especially, how day in the life it is. Because it's like Lois, probably more in volume 2, because she had more screen time in the movie I watched than page time in what I read. Yeah. But she's not in it a lot. Like, she has that scene where it's like, I used to like this... I used to listen to a lot of Good Charlotte, and now I still listen to some Good Charlotte. And there's a song where it's like, it's called like something, The Day I'm Gonna Die. And it just describes everything he does if he woke up and knew he was gonna die. And it's like, I take my girlfriend on a really nice day and give her superpowers. It's actually eerily similar to All-Star Superman.
So Lois Lane's not in this much. You know who else is not in this that much? Good Charlotte. They never appear, and that is...
I'm not sure they exist in the universe, but...
They shouldn't exist in any universe.
I would write them into every universe.
She's not. I kind of like that Lois isn't the amount that she's in this too. And it's not that I don't like strong women in the comic or whatever. I feel the same way about Wonder Woman comics. Where I'm not it's like, I guess she should have Trevor. It's
pretty good, but they need less Wonder Woman.
Well, there's too many. No.
To that point, I think I told you kind of recently too. I don't like Steve Trevor. Yeah. I like the beginning, and like she washed up on her island, and then there was a whole cute thing like when
did you see Wonder Woman?
Yeah.
Okay.
When he brought her to America and all that stuff. That's great. But the amount that he's in her comics, and like sometimes he'll have his own comics at the end, I don't need that. I don't care about Steve Trevor that much.
Yeah, and I think he does a fantastic job. Chris Pine does, and it's well written. But I agree. I mean, it's kind of like stories that are about relationships are titled "There's Relationships." It's Romeo and Juliet. It's not Romeo, and then also for some reason Juliet's in it a lot. And I feel same way. I mean, that story about Superman, I want Lois in it to the degree it makes sense for him.
But yeah, I mean, you want to see them. You want, I mean, it's Lois and Clark. They're always going to be together.
Yeah, but when in movies, a lot of times it feels like it's just a focus group thing. They feel like they have to please everybody or something like that.
And I was really disappointed in this when she got her powers. And in the movie especially, that she did nothing with them. I mean, she flew with
she
him.
still needed to be saved.
Yeah, like 4 times. He gave her all of his powers with no weaknesses, and it's like, why are you...
But her costume was crisp.
Oh, yeah.
That's not exactly helpful. But
There's a line in the movie where she's like, so how's it fit? And she says, just a little bit better than my own skin.
And then she snaps for some reason. Yeah.
No, I mean, I do agree with that. I loved her costume. Like, I guess Superman has a good fashion sense, too. Knows how to make a good costume.
Well, his fashion sense was elevated with his...
super abilities. I also gained the ability to be a fashion designer.
Now this 20 quintillion tons. I have great taste.
I'm mostly designing now. That is mostly what's happening. And yes, Superman just swoops down and shames people for their like bad outfit and stuff like that.
Those shoes don't go with that shirt, Jessica.
Oh, what, are you robbing that bank, JCPenney? No, I don't think so. No. Yeah, but it's... So the other thing I should say is that we did obviously recommend this comic to you. This comic's weird.
Yeah.
Like, it's a... And I think it was kind of cool to recommend this one because it is... It's just, I don't know, comic books cubed. You know what I mean? It takes... It doesn't try to not be bizarre. It kind of goes in the other direction. This is Grant Morrison, who's known as being this kind of like psychedelic, like bizarre...
He plays with a lot of interesting themes. Yeah. And like explains them in a weird way, or they unfold in a weird way. I love Grant Morrison, but a lot of people don't.
You can see in like the order of the narrative, and so like a movie would be written, there's like an A plot, B plot, C plot, and then they all kind of diverge and come together in the end.
Yeah.
But this, it was kind of like A plot, and then that ends, and then there's a B plot, and then that ends, and then it all kind of...
There's like that overlying theme of like he's dying, but then there's like these... I mean, that does make sense. It does seem kind of... But I guess it makes sense too, because it's like you said, it's like his whole kind of life compact into one thing.
I think that was the conceit, is that the theme is he's dying and moving toward death, but we're also going to do the history of, like in episodic form, the history of Superman's most important kinds of stories or moments through the theme of he's gonna die or whatever,
which includes an arm wrestling contest.
Exactly.
With Samson and Atlas. Heck yes.
I thought maybe they would like breakdance or something.
Did you so reading the comic, did you think they'd be as bro-y as they made them seem in the movie?
They seemed pretty bro-y in the comic.
Okay.
Did you think they were like more?
No, I mean I've read them before, but I never like in my head envisioned them as like
I also didn't know
bros.
Those characters before.
I guess
Samson's here. I was like, oh yeah, Samson's here.
Well, I mean, and the thing about that too is that it feels like they're as bro-y as those kind of characters would have been in antiquity. So Samson is a misogynist. You know, Atlas isn't as well documented, I guess. I think he's completely mythical or whatever. I mean, Samson probably is too. I don't think the Bible's real, but here's the thing. I'm just saying, like, there is something about those mythic characters that would be, very like, I'll grab this woman and she'll be my woman, and I'll
If we think Louis C.K. is a powerful man, then like, Atlas is probably got some.
Louis
stuff
C.K.
going in
has
his head,
never
too.
like crumbled, the pillars, for Jesus. I think he's old. I don't know.
He doesn't even have hair.
Yeah,
so if Samson gets his power from his hair, then Louis is.
Yeah, you need to brush up on your biblical history there.
Yeah, Louis not in it.
No. But I think they were kind of like timeless bros is a good way to put it.
Yeah, that's a good, because they're time travelers.
Yeah.
Is that why?
Well, I was kind of repeat.
You didn't need to say that, but you did.
So the other thing I thought going into was weird. Another thing that's just like, how does everyone not know that Clark Kent and Superman are the same guy?
Let me tell you, that's a really original observation. I'm just
No, but that's what I'm saying. This is like an old.
It's something with comic books. You just have to suspend that.
Sure.
Disbelief.
It's a quirk.
You almost have to suspend it more in the movies, though. I always thought of comic books as being more limited than movies, but then you look at the art and you see the way they can, like, kind of move the viewer's vantage point way more fluidly than you can in a movie.
Absolutely.
And, you can...
there's this expression of the stories between the panels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But so in the movie, especially these recent ones, I don't know who that actor is, but he's still just like a hot dude.
Henry Cavill.
Yeah, he's just
you're
like
absolutely right.
He's like hot as Superman. He puts on glasses, and he's like, hey, all the girls, oh, I love nerdy guys. He's got he's got glasses on.
No, in Henry Cavill's case, it's like, oh, it's Superman. It's like, and then when he's wearing glasses, it's Clark Kent. It's like, oh, Superman's modeling.
Yeah,
oh, okay, Superman's doing stuff for Nordstrom.
Like a J. Crew.
Yeah,
but there's more of like a almost like a kind of like mystical transformation between Clark Kent and Superman in this, because Clark Kent has he's got like the round face and he looks it's almost like Superman does something to like change his.
I've always been curious too, because you see Superman and he's like graceful and has intent with everything he does, and then when he's Clark Kent, he's so klutzy and so goofy, like naturally. That's like, which one is real? Because like, I mean, for him to be able to do that and to control like him falling and not breaking the earth when he does that, like, I mean, there's just so much control in that.
Beautiful like ballet dance.
Yeah, they do some stuff with that in the movie too that they didn't do in the comic book. Like when in the movie they're walking under that bridge and he sees
a piece of about to fall.
Yeah, and he bumps into that guy. But in the comic book, he just bumps into him. But in the movie, he like intentionally saved him from getting squished in the head.
Yeah.
I think with in terms of like why they look alike and things like that, there is an
they're the same person.
Yeah. Oh no, that makes now I'm getting it. So I thought, okay, no, but why nobody notices or whatever? I think there are some things in comic books where when it first came out, and for a lot of its history, the readership wasn't necessarily that savvy, or they were willing to suspend disbelief. But then you get to a point where people aren't, but it gets adopted intentionally with a wink because it's charming.
Yeah.
So now when a writer does that with Superman, where like, oh, you're Clark Kent, like anything like Superman or whatever, I think there's a kind of like, this is so silly. We love Superman.
Yeah,
where it's not like they don't know that it's kind of
And at the same time too, they never see them together.
Yeah.
So I mean, when you see somebody flying and lifting cars and going that way, and the other one's like, I don't know. I just
the whole illusion is there.
Yeah, they create some suspension of disbelief. But I think even if that movie Hancock.
Same actor.
I know. Hitch is they're both awful, but with Hancock, despite how homeless he looks, you'd still be like, that's fucking Will Smith.
Oh yeah,
Will Smith right there. Will Smith.
But he also wasn't.
Yeah,
he also wasn't trying to pretend to be somebody else. So.
Yeah. No, I just mean like even if they had no point of connection, you'd be like, that's Will Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so that's the cool thing about the art in the comic is that you can kind of bypass that whole hacky argument by actually making them look different and actually
it's always the hair too.
Yeah.
Like he like has it down and like messy, and then when he's Superman it's just like graceful and swoopy.
And in concept the idea is that like Superman's really selling Clark Kent's incompetence and the expectation and Superman in his real life in his superhero life is like doing amazing things, and not just that, he's always like on point.
Yeah, he's as smart as he is strong.
Exactly, but so he's like he has so much poise and all this kind of stuff. So it's this assumption about what Superman should be like. I mean, this is the idea I think that makes it hard to imagine Clark Kent.
Yeah,
because you're like, well, if Superman was a real person, he wouldn't be a loser. He would he might pretend not to have powers, but he would definitely like not have a booger. Right here on the, because he would.
The super
booger. I bet you that's what he does. Like Superman will take a booger and put it like on the side of his nose just to be like, people need to think I'm a dude.
Like full cape and tights. Yeah. And everybody be like, well, that can't be Superman. Look at that giant booger.
Superman could feel like, you can see his own atoms, but he can't feel a booger. No.
But on the cover here, he kind of looks to me a little bit like he's obviously in the Superman outfit and everything.
That's one of my favorite images of Superman.
Yeah.
I don't know why I like it so much.
He looks high as shit.
It really does.
So the cover of this one, just so...
That is, those aren't clouds. That's
just so the listeners know, he's sitting on, what is it, like a cliff?
I don't know. It looks like he's sitting on a cloud. Oh, I knocked over the microphone.
Or a mountain, maybe.
Yeah, and he's just kind of like turned sideways. And
he has got a big spliff in his hand. I should have noticed that.
One of those big Rasta hats that saw at Six Flags.
Jesus.
Sure,
with Tweety Bird, who's got a switchblade for some reason.
His last day alive, he wanted to go to Six Flags. But he kind of looks like both Clark Kent and, well, no, that's a stupid thing to say. But because
he's the same person.
Yeah, it kind of looks like the way he draws Clark Kent and the way he draws Superman merged together.
And he really is kind of both, I think. Like Superman, I mean, we're not really doing a deep dive on this episode about it, like going that far into it, but I think that there's some issues about like whether Superman, like how you interpret him. Like, is Clark Kent an act or not? In some sense, he is an act, like, because he's not.
Well, that's what I was trying to say, because he does it so naturally, and he's so comfortable doing it. I mean, he could be just that good at acting. Yeah. But, I mean, and then you see him as Superman, and it's like, God, there's similarities for sure, but it's like, God, you're so different. And, I mean, obviously, it's intentional, so that way people don't know who's who, but... And
I think they're both kind of an act a little bit. Because, like, also, I think Superman's way more, like, humble... and like kind of down to earth, and like, I'm just gonna help my dad build this fence.
Yeah,
like you do.
Yeah, that's why we picked it, because you like to build fences with your dad.
I've built a fence, painted a fence, drywall, power washed a fence.
So you were about to say drywall defenses.
It's really cool, and a lot of times you'll do that, and the homeowners won't have wanted you to do that. You just kind of build a fence, like, hey, I built you a fence.
Why did you draw these stick figures on my fence? Painting your fence is a good neighbor thing to do.
Yeah. Did you see the Man of Steel movie?
Yeah, it's really long. And that's a great difference between this. Is like they tell the whole origin story in 4 panels. And they took 45 minutes to do it in Man of Steel.
I'm so glad you said that all around. I like Man of Steel. I like that Zack Snyder wanted to do that story and stuff like that. But that is proof, I think, that he didn't need to. Mm-hmm. And you're absolutely right. That's one of my favorite things about this. 8 words, 4 panels.
Yeah, it's perfect writing and perfect visual storytelling.
Absolutely. And such a quick... And I think at this point, going forward, away from whether Zack Snyder should have done that or not, they don't need to. We all know who Superman is.
That's been my argument with Batman and Superman.
No more origin stories.
Everybody knows.
Yeah.
People died.
Yeah.
Worlds died, and they are where they are now. You don't need more.
Do some flashbacks. You want to catch them up? You can do that.
I think Man of Steel did do that well, but
that's... but that is a long tornado scene.
That's not that long.
Their back and forth is just, oh man, I wish that this was a visual podcast, because the faces is like... Imagine my face right now, listener. No.
I almost remember nothing about Man of Steel. So,
but he does seem to feel the need to go back and retell that story. Unfortunately, I don't think he really did a lot of new stuff in it, and that happens in a lot of Batman movies too.
Well, I think they showed him as a kid dealing with his powers, which I thought was new. They never did that in a movie.
Yeah, sometimes I forget what I don't like, what comic fans know. Versus what people that do.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm as far as movies go, like if you look at the Christopher Reeves movie, they never did. I mean, showed him as a kid dealing with powers, and then how his classmates, told him. I don't know.
What's interesting to me about this too is that have you noticed Superman doesn't fight a lot in this?
No, and
I think that's interesting because it's a fantastic Superman comic, but like a lot of people have criticized some of the movies because like he never fights a bad guy. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, like, I mean, it's not that Superman doesn't have these awesome fights. He's got, I mean, the Death of Superman where he fights Doomsday is like this big. It's just a fight, so it's really cool.
The entire comic is a fight.
Absolutely, right? But a lot of times it's not what Superman comics are about. Mm-hmm. It's about him
building fences.
Yeah, smoking weed. Exactly. Yeah.
I don't think he could smoke weed. I don't think he'd get high.
Oh yeah, kind of like Captain America King.
No, he would go to the third moon of the middle star Alpha Centauri. I don't know enough about astronomy clearly to even make a reference. But
I traveled to the 45th dimension for this shit.
Yeah, and it would be so powerful as weed. No, you just say 5th dimension, and then you've got Mr. Mitchell. I bet he's got great weed.
Oh, that's wait,
who?
Superman?
Mitchell.
He's the
Perry White.
Yep. Mixaplix.
He's made reference to it. Yeah, but they don't say his name in that.
Hold the picture up to the microphone so everyone can hear it.
Excellent. Just buzzing. People in 5th dimension can hear it because that's how sound works there.
Oh, Yeah, that was cool, man.
That's great.
I loved that guy.
I could see you see it. You should see him see that.
You should the animated series with him in it is really good.
Yeah.
Because he shows up a lot in that series, that show.
He's the great kazoo.
Yeah, and he just, I mean, they're such fun episodes because he does pose a huge threat, but it's always like, you have to make me say my name.
And he's a good sport.
Who?
Mitzelplick. He's a good fun.
Well, yeah, but he has to do it. I
Yeah.
mean, so, I mean, I don't think he's a good sport at all. He gets so upset when he loses.
He's Gilbert Godfrey. Okay,
yeah, Gilbert Godfrey plays his voice.
Really?
Yeah, in that show.
Yeah.
How's all this stuff happening?
Yeah. But also
Comics, man. You need to read comics.
This is a whole thing you guys got going
It's
on. I had no
crazy.
idea.
But also, we picked All-Star Superman for you. Literally, I do think Andrew's a lot like Superman.
Yeah, I mean, you're a good guy.
And I can fly.
And
so.
you can be killed by radiation.
Oh, yeah.
It'll kill you.
I mean, all of us can.
Yeah. But especially no, but there's like it's a wholesome thing going on with you. You know what I mean? You're a very wholesome guy. And that's when you say stuff like titties, it gets a big kind of laugh.
Right.
Similarly, Superman, not saying that stuff, obviously, but
If he did.
but he's very wholesome, and a lot of stories about Superman end up being, they play off of the premise.
If you guys
again,
We're
they
just
play off.
slapping the microphone around.
They play off. We need to get microphones that respect our incompetence. That's the problem. Anyway, but anyway, a lot of Superman comic books obviously play off of the fact that he's really wholesome, because then they're like, oh, even in this, remember when Superman gets exposed to the black kryptonite?
Oh, and he goes mean.
He gets mean.
he goes mean.
He gets all mean.
Yeah.
Like when
That's
Andrew
me with Pinot Noir.
I was gonna say like fruit. What are those fruit drinks that when you drink them?
Gatorade.
Wine coolers.
Oh,
That's
okay.
it. I was gonna make it a wine cooler,
Yeah.
So, one question.
and that's it.
Sure thing. No, okay.
What is your favorite superhero? I know you don't read comics and stuff
Yeah.
like that, but from the outside looking in,
I think I'm a Spider-Man head. Yeah, I guess.
is it because of the boobies?
Well, originally, yes. But, I think even before then, and I said something about this before we started recording, but I loved the Halloween costume for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And so that's just what it was for
Oh,
me.
that's what you dressed
That's
up
true.
as?
I loved, but I didn't have one. My mom made me a Pikachu costume out of a sweatsuit, a yellow sweatsuit. And,
Did she think that was Spider-Man?
No.
Did she think that was a good idea?
She did. She really did. And looking back, it was a great idea. I wish I still had that costume. But
I'm sure you could find a yellow sweatsuit somewhere.
Yeah. But where am I going to find my mom to make it for me?
At her house.
Yeah, she's alive and well.
Yeah.
Everyone should know. She's doing great. But
She's not
Oh, yeah, my
she's
friend-
not making costumes like she used to.
no. She's much more fulfilled now. But yeah, so my friend had a Spider-Man costume. Oh, and my mom had made him a Pikachu costume too, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm not wearing it."
Wait, why did your mom make your friend a costume?
I don't remember. But I think his mom thought it was like such a fun idea that she make one for him too.
Would your mom describe that friend of yours now as imaginary?
Maybe.
Is that why?
Well, yeah, we haven't gotten that deep into my psyche.
Did you see? So Spider-Man's your favorite superhero.
Yeah.
Did you see Venom?
Yeah, I saw Venom.
Did you like Venom?
No.
Why?
No.
What did you not like about Venom?
It was a bad movie. It was. I'm sure that the character and a lot of the visuals were great. So if you have like a real connection to the comic books and the art there, I'm sure it was.
And that is interesting because I have when I've asked people if they like Venom, especially like non-comic book readers or not fans of it, they're like, but like aside from a superhero movie, do you think it was a good movie?
No, I think it was a poorly written, clunky narrative.
There's something to point to. It hasn't. To me, I was trying to figure out what is it. It has no character arc.
Yeah.
He doesn't change at all. Like it's like even if he could come full circle, and like he doesn't even do that.
Yeah.
He sort of bounces around through these weird circumstances and makes friends with this Cool,
Yeah,
awesome
it's like
looking
Knight Rider
symbiote.
kind of guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Knight Rider. It's great. That movie is Knight Rider. Okay, I didn't know.
Oh yeah.
But I do feel like Venom
Yeah.
had the change.
A bit,
Yeah.
but it's a bit like it's a bit unjustified. Like she's like,
He like
I like you, Eddie,
he goes
despite
away.
your lack of change. I changed, yet you did not.
But Venom goes away and comes back, and he's like, "I just remembered."
Did you like the recent Spider-Man movie, like Homecoming?
Homecoming, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, I loved Spider-Man Homecoming. I loved Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And what else? There's other Spider-Man. I like
Spider-Man Homecoming is fantastic, I think.
Yeah. But you know what's kind of weird is that I liked the idea of Spider-Man. I was obviously never into like the whole depth of the character, but I liked the idea of him as a kid because he seemed like a cool teenager. I was like, when you're a kid, being 16 is like one of the coolest things you can do.
Yeah.
Even though, I never really saw him as like a nerdy guy. I was like, oh man, I want to be the superhero that cool big kid
You
is.
were so nerdy.
Yeah.
That Peter Parker, it's like, that guy's got a vest. Look at his vest. You get older, you get glasses and a vest.
I wanted
Holy
a
shit.
vest so bad.
I've been wearing this onesie since I was like 2.
You just have to wear my stupid stocking cap everywhere. I'm so pissed off.
It is funny too that somebody recommended that to you, Spider-Man, and then we recommended Superman, and that's about right to me about you, right? Because like, no, people are not like sending you Batman comics.
No,
Not that you might love it.
Yeah, I don't think you're a night stalking type person.
I'm more of a night snacking type person.
Okay, so All-Star Superman.
It diverged real quickly into Spider-Man.
That's a wonderful cul-de-sac.
But I know a guy who thought he was Batman. Maybe still does.
Like,
Well, you want to share?
Yeah.
Okay,
I do want
great.
to tell this story now.
Please do.
So he came into a bunch of money in high school, and he bought a BMW with it, and he turned it.
Can I just say I'm so glad this is real?
Yeah. This
Like
is
I thought it.
real.
Well, no, but I thought it was gonna be like a crazy person, like
No,
a
no,
homeless
no.
person.
This is a guy I was close friends with in high school, and
This is great. Did
still-
you guys go to high school together?
just let him tell the damn story.
You're right. Correct.
But this guy, he bought this BMW and then made all these Batmobile modifications to it. He had like the license plate concealer where it would go.
Why?
Because he was insane. And he would like go out and to like this shopping center, the strip mall by our neighborhood, and get up on the roofs in the middle of the night in his Batman costume, like with his batarangs, and just completely by himself. Nobody has really any evidence of this except for him being like, yeah, I was out last night climbing buildings with my Batman costume.
Well, was he serious when he said it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's terrifying because he probably did do that.
Let's back up. Was he Batman? Did you just happen to
There
know
is
that?
literally no way to know.
Yeah. I'll show you pictures of him later, but I did want to.
Do you have pictures of him? Oh, not of him as Batman.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a little bit.
Well, you should send. Oh, yeah. Because
Are you still in contact with him?
Yeah,
Because we'll put that on.
I don't want to say his name.
No, you need to say his name. No, I'm kidding.
He's like a.
Dude, we'll edit it out.
No. So, anyways, All-Star Superman. There's also a kid that would dress up like Superman all the time at high school. That's true.
It's like,
Also,
I was just melting people. Are you serious?
yeah.
Was he a Mexican guy?
No.
Okay, cool.
This is Gordon.
What?
I'll say Gordon's name.
Who's Gordon?
He's just my friend from high school that would dress
okay.
up as Superman all the time.
Like as a joke?
Like he went to school.
Yeah. He had like a Superman shirt with a cape on it, and he had this like steel blue FJ Cruiser with huge Superman decals on it.
Somebody's got to.
So you went to high school with Superman and Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Sky High or some shit. Like what the fuck is this?
Yeah, I went to school with like fucking Archie or something. Like that's the closest.
That's not as
thing.
exciting.
Like, not in the least. It's deeply disappointing.
Yeah.
Well, so after reading All-Star Superman, featuring Superman,
Yeah.
Tell me what your impressions of Superman are now. You know, are they any different? What's the sense you have about the character? That kind of thing.
I guess like Does it sound dumb? A lot more magical than I thought he was. But like, I always thought of him as kind of like one of the worst superheroes because it's like nothing really happened to him. He didn't get bit by a spider. He was just born strong, and he just is strong.
He's like Moses.
Was Moses strong?
Nobody had his powers from.
No, he got powers from a burning bush and a stick.
Yeah, that was God. I don't want spoilers. Spoilers.
Yeah. I haven't finished it yet. A lot of people spend time like ranking the power of the Marvel
characters.
And they have people like I guess Captain Marvel's supposed to be the strongest one. Where would you rank the DC folks? Is Superman?
I want to go back and say Captain Marvel isn't the most powerful character in the Marvel universe.
As far as strong?
Or anything, that character can go fuckers. No, not really. But I don't know. I think so this is interesting you mentioned that because I am way more in the camp of I don't really want there to be a top dog. Mm-hmm. I like a lot of characters in different like weight classes or something like that. It's just like when I watch MMA or boxing, I'm the least interested. I think it's the worst. I mean, boxing's real, obviously, but it's like the worst story when there's one guy and no one can beat him. I think it's a really childish impulse to want to have a character that's the best. And in the comics, Superman is great and he's really powerful, but there's other characters that are very much like in his league. You know, like Captain Marvel, aka Shazam. Sorry.
You have to distinguish now.
Yeah. And I mean, Doomsday is a really powerful villain and stuff like that. I like Wonder Woman when she's depicted as
I think I had talked about in a previous episode the thing I don't like about Superman that they haven't done too much in the comics recently, but with the Justice League movie and him in general, I don't like that they use him like that.
Yes.
Where like he swoops in at the end and then the threat is done because Superman's there because he could defeat it. And it's like,
well, why? Ironically, that doesn't really happen in his comic.
Exactly. Well, and this comic is really good because it shows a different side of that. I mean, he's literally dying.
But I think in Superman comics generally, he's not the Deus Ex Machina. He's the character struggling with things. And
whenever he's in like a Justice League comic or somebody else's comic, it's like, oh, Superman's here now. Like, it's gonna be over.
And I don't gravitate towards characters that are like you can tell the writers and fans have a kind of dad fixation with the psychology where it's like nobody can beat up my dad. Batman's the best. Nobody beats Wolverine. Wolverine's the best. And it's like you have issues you need to work out with your father. So that's.
I love my alcohol.
That's my. Is it a Dave Attell joke? Where he talks about like I don't
know.
Like, it's like when you're a kid, you think that your dad's Superman, and then you grow up and realize he's just like a drunk guy in a cape.
It's just a towel.
So you were saying he's just way more magical.
There's way more like intricacy or nuance to his abilities than.
So it's a lot deeper than you thought.
Like he's so scientifically and advanced in a way that it makes it seem like magic. Like the fact, like in the movie, he said that like he's like, it took me a few days to memorize all 6 billion characters of your genetic code. Yeah, which is
it's just super. Some would say it's super.
I also remember in high school, a lot of my friends were reading the Superman. I think it's maybe called Red Sun, where he lands in Russia instead of the U.S.
Yeah.
Is that it's
really good?
Is it? Mm-hmm. It's cool.
Because like I mentioned this before, but like some of Superman's best stories end up being sort of dystopian stories, where like what if
it flips his whole ideals on its head?
Yeah. So it's almost like you have to do all this legwork of Superman being kind of like an almost boringly powerful character to get these really interesting stories where
and. Superman to me in the comics isn't like that really at some level. It's like there's a certain perception people have of what he would be doing in his comic book, and some of it is because there's a lot of Superman in the newsroom and just putzing around or whatever. So people are like, well, how could he not defeat everyone in that newsroom? He's so powerful. It's like, he's really powerful. Everybody he fights is like
on the same level, or if not powerful.
It's like he's really strong, but like he has to beat up moons a lot. You know what I mean?
That was my biggest grievance with Superman Returns. He can't fight anybody.
He got shot in the eyeball though.
There was nothing to. It was so bad. Did you see that one?
Nope.
You never saw Superman Returns with
You
Brandon
watch
Routh?
how bad it is?
I guess I didn't know.
It's so.
Well,
I don't
yeah.
I don't think he punches a single person
Yeah.
or living thing in that movie. The only thing I remember is he lifts a giant kryptonite island
He lifts stuff, yeah.
and also fixes a boat, maybe or something. I don't.
He
it's
lifts
so
a plane. He's hard time with it.
I hate it. I hate it so much.
I
Do
don't
you
know.
have any
Comic book
questions
expert?
for us?
Yeah.
Who's your least favorite comic book character?
Are you in a comic?
Not yet.
No, wait. Do you actually? That's funny. I don't think we've ever talked about that.
I know.
Oh, I know instantly. The Sentry. It's the stupidest.
What's the centuries?
Well, let me go ahead and I'll tell you what the Sentry is, and then you tell me if it's the stupidest thing you've ever heard. He has the power of 1 billion exploding suns.
Okay.
Yeah, really stupid, huh?
What's that mean?
Yeah.
Who knows?
That's a
Which
good question.
superhero doesn't? Everyone has.
Yeah, Paul Jenkins created the character, but I'm not entirely sure. Well, it seems like Donald Trump may have done it.
Oh, okay.
He's the best.
He has a billion gadillion powers.
The Democrats
Strong
think he's
superhero.
not. Yeah, I like how we all timidly tried to do Donald Trump and then
Yeah.
backed off away from it. Yeah, so I hate the Sentry. I think he's stupid. He's also a Superman analog, kinda. But yeah, it's real dumb character. Anybody that likes him is stupid.
Yeah, fuck him.
Fuck you. Yeah,
I don't think I have anybody that I dislike.
I think I could name 40 characters you don't like.
Who?
The Hulk.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't like the Hulk.
You don't like him 40 times.
Yeah, not a fan.
I like Hulk stories, but as long as it's not just the Dragon Ball Zism. It's just about like, oh, you thought he could get strong? He's stronger.
He's madder.
He's even
so he's
angrier.
more strong.
He'll get so strong, he'll get mad at how strong he is.
Yeah.
Which makes him stronger. I'm the stupidest person alive. Okay.
All right, I'm going to end the episode on that.
Okay.
All right, so that was Andrew Wagner on our show. It's great having you on, man.
Great to be on. Thank you guys so much for having me.
You're still on it now.
Yeah, I am, but, thanks.
We're about to never be on it again.
And thanks to Kayla, who I made it impossible for her to be here today.
We should say something about how she's not on the show. Did we mention that up top?
Yeah, at the
Anybody
beginning.
notice that
Yeah.
she didn't?
Yeah, I said
I'm
that-
glad we did. Well, I'm glad we said that up top because I feel like people would
Jared likes to pretend he listens when things happen, but he's
That's
just
like being an asshole.
yeah. But yeah, Andrew, do you want to plug any of your plugs?
You can follow me on twitter.com at friendly OLE wags WAGZ. Just want to make sure it's as difficult as possible.
Wait, is that real?
Yeah, it's my real Twitter. Andrew Wagner at friendly old wags, and you can see if I'm doing stand up around Austin. I host a monthly show at Brentwood Social House called Bubble and Squeak, and that's where I'll be.
All right, thank you, Andrew, for being on.
Thanks, guys.